Hello to you. Good Monday afternoon, and hopefully you are having a great one. Hopefully you had a great weekend. Of course, daylight saving time came to an end. You got that extra hour of sleep. And of course, we had a humongous hurricane hitting Jamaica, Cuba, the southeastern Bahamas last week. Of course, that was Hurricane Melissa. Fortunately, the last advisory for Melissa was issued on Friday, so nothing has popped up since then, but it's been a fairly active hurricane season so far. We've had some lulls in the action at times. However, it's still been pretty busy. At one point, it seemed like we weren't going to have too many systems, but we so far have ended up with 13 named storms, one behind our average of 14 for the entire season. 5 of those have blown up to become hurricanes. That's 2 back from our average of 7, and 4 of those have become major hurricanes. Of course, that is 1 above our average of 3 major hurricanes. Now, how does this compare with what Colorado State University meteorologists forecasted back in July? Well, they were calling for an above normal season. We're still 3 back from their number of named storms that they predicted, which was 16. We're about 3 back from the number of hurricanes, but we are 1 above their number of major hurricanes that they predicted. So yes, it has been a busy season. It's been unusually busy for those monster major hurricanes. Of course, that's category 3, 4, or 5. You can see on this list, we've had 13 named storms, starting off with tropical storms Andrea, Barry, and Chantal, and Dexter at the beginning of the season. Then, of course, we had our first hurricane, and that one was a whopper, category 5 Hurricane Aaron. Of course, that brought some of those big waves, rough surf to the East Coast, but it wasn't a direct hit. Thank goodness it stayed offshore. Then we had Tropical Storm Fear 9. Hurricane Gabrielle grew to be a major hurricane, category 4. And then we had another whopper monster hurricane with category 5 Umberto, and then category 2 Imelda. Then, of course, we had a few tropical storms, Jerry, Karen, Lorenzo, and most recently we had to deal with Melissa, which was likely the most catastrophic hurricane that we're going to have all season long, just devastating Jamaica, making landfall as the strongest hurricane ever for Jamaica on record, with 185-mile-per-hour winds and pressure less than 900 millibars. So it has been a week. Thank goodness. Melissa is history. We're still looking to see if Nestor, a tropical storm, or Hurricane Nestor could be possible, but right now, not really seeing any signs of Nestor developing, thank goodness. But as far as your tropical headlines are concerned, we've got about 5 to 6% of that Atlantic Basin activity remaining. We only have maybe about 3 weeks or so of hurricane season left, 3.5 weeks, and then it is going to be over. Of course, it ends November 30th at the end of the month. We do still have a small chance for tropical development in the Western Caribbean between November 5th and November 11th. That's coming from the NOAA Climate Prediction Center. So we do still have a chance. There could be a little something going, but the chances that it would push into the Gulf and move up towards the Texas Gulf Coast and maybe hit us, extremely low. We've never had a hurricane hit this late in the season, so it would be unprecedented. So it's not impossible, but the chances day by day are getting lower. One reason is that we are starting to see more of those cold fronts dropping in from the north. So when you get a front to drop in, of course, that's going to greatly reduce the chance that a tropical system is going to roll north towards us, and that also cools off the water out there in the Gulf. So notice for the northern Gulf, those water temps are now down to the middle to upper 70s, 76-degree sea surface temp or water temp just southeast of Houston. So definitely cooling off. But as I expand the view, you'll notice that water is still pretty toasty for the central southern Gulf, and definitely very warm, well into the 80s for much of the Caribbean, especially the western and central Caribbean. So there's still a chance, and there's actually some clusters of showers and storms that are disorganized, but they're still going strong for parts of the Western Caribbean. You can see the flare up on our satellite there with the yellows, reds, oranges, those bursts of convections or those thunderstorm cloud tops. So some of this could potentially organize, but if we were to get a tropical wave, tropical depression, or tropical storm, that would likely roll into Central America or southern parts of Mexico. I doubt it would make it up towards the Houston area. So I can't officially say our hurricane season is over, but like I said, the chance is extremely low that anything would head our away. Let's put our GFS Futurecast into motion. You'll see that we do have those clusters of showers and storms around the eastern Pacific, western Caribbean. Not much going on in the Gulf. You can see the eastern Caribbean as well. There are going to be some showers and maybe a few storms, but nothing that's really organizing and causing us to raise an eyebrow or become concerned that we could have tropical storm or hurricane Nestor developing. So bottom line, National Hurricane Center thinking, hey, it is going to be fairly quiet out there with no tropical activity expected for the next 7 days. And then that would put us about 2.5 weeks out from the end of hurricane season. So we're getting there, and hopefully we will keep things quiet for the entire Atlantic Basin for the rest of the season. But of course, there's always still a low chance. Speaking of a low chance, this is exactly what this map says. This is the chance for tropical formation, tropical depressions, tropical storms, hurricanes for the rest of November. And notice the Gulf not really included in anything. So our chance extremely low, but notice the yellow shading. That means it's possible, unlikely, but possible for parts of the western Atlantic and parts of the western Caribbean. So that kind of lines up with what the forecasts are showing, especially for the western Caribbean. That would be the spot, if we got anything, where we could see some potential development. Also, can't rule it out in the central Atlantic, but for the main development region at this point in the season, chances are extremely low that you're going to get anything developing across the eastern or central Atlantic or rolling off of the west coast of Africa. That part of hurricane season has kind of come to an end. So we'll continue to watch the Caribbean, the Western Caribbean more specifically, to see if we can get anything going. But day by day, we are going down that roller coaster. The chances are getting lower and lower that we will get hit by anything. So we have been spared, thankfully, this season across Houston and the Texas Gulf Coast. No tropical storms, no tropical depressions, no hurricanes whatsoever hitting us. Of course, we were hit in Houston by Hurricane Beryl last year on July 8th, but so far this season, nada, nothing at all. So let's hopefully keep that streak going for a few more weeks, and then we can call it a wrap, and we'll have to wait to see what happens next year. But for now, things remain quiet out in the tropics. We'll be back with more Texas Live and Local.